am so delighted. We have such a star panel today that I just can't imagine that we were able to pull this off. I know you see on your program, so you know who's here, but we even have an extra guest that you will find out about later. And who knew that we could get the incomparable Miss Star Jones to moderate the panel?
All right.
So today we're going to talk about disruptive aging and living your best life at every age. And because we are BWA, the B stands for Black, but it also stands for broadening your horizons.
Wonderful.
The W is for welcome challenges. And the A, agitate the norms. So that's what we want you to do. We want you to walk away with that. And we hope you have a wonderful, wonderful session this morning. So let's applaud our panel. And I'd like to welcome to the stage our mistress of ceremony for today, Dr. Gladys Gary Vaughn.
It is my absolute pleasure to introduce the individual who will direct the panel discussion today, and that is Star Jones. She is an attorney. She is a former homicide prosecutor for the state of New York. Most of us know her as a television media personality, and she is an Emmy-nominated TV personality. She is an author, a published author. She has written 2 books, and a third one, I understand, is about to be published. One was the basis for a television series. And she is an activist woman of African descent. It is my pleasure to introduce you to Miss Star Jones.
Thank you. What a nice introduction. Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies. Good morning, everyone. I am going to have the privilege of introducing you to this amazing panel, and I have to tell you, it's an honor for me to be amongst this group of women. Some I've known for some years, some I've met today, but all at the end of this morning session, I guarantee you'll be impressed by. I have been very fortunate and blessed to have a career that has been really successful for me. I've had ups and downs, but just like all of you, we've seen some good times and we've seen some bad times. But I can legitimately say most of my wonderful accomplishments have come after my 40s. And the growing network of sister friends has been really one of the most fantastic byproducts of that. I can sincerely tell you that I'm living my best life. I wrote it down at this age. You know, years ago when I hosted The View, there was a young actress who every year she would come on and promote one of her movies. I'm sure you'll remember a young actress who really broke out, Dakota Fanning. She was one of the best, she is still one of the best, and she would write thank you notes. And every year, she'd put Dakota Fanning, comma, 6, comma, 7, comma, 8. And for 9 years, we interviewed this young lady, and she would put what her age was, and it was so interesting. I kept thinking to myself, can I do that? So yes, Star Jones, comma, 55 years old. So I'm very happy about that. And I think to myself, when it comes to living your best life, what makes you happy? Your family is good, your health is good, your relationship is good, and your friendships are good. So right now, I am proud to introduce people who I think are living their best lives no matter what ages they are. Let me first start to my far left. The young lady to my far left is Cadet Simone Askew, who I usually don't like to read everybody's bio because you can get it, but y'all gonna need to hear about this young sister. the first African-American woman to lead the 4,400 Corps of Cadets at the United States Military Academy at West Point, y'all. She received BWA's Pinnacle Award. An international history major from Fairfax, Virginia, Simone assumed the highest position in the cadet chain of command last month. As first captain, she is responsible for the overall performance of the Corps of Cadets, as well as serving as a liaison between the cadets and the military schools administration. This right here is going to be somebody one day that commands our troops, keeps us safe, and sits on the wall. We're happy to have you, Simone. Immediately to her left is the phenomenal woman herself. I think when you read that poem, you just see her face. It jumps out. Nikki Giovanni, let's give her a round of applause. American poet, writer, activist, and educator. I love that she is a Southern person born in Knoxville, Tennessee. However, Midwest in the house. She grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, where she started the city's first fine arts festival. Arts have always been a part of Nikki's life, with a career that has spanned over 50 years. Her numerous awards include 19 honorary doctorates. Yes. Okay? That's because they want to have her in their house. That's what we're talking about. Woman of the Year awards from 3 different magazines, keys to more than 24 American cities. She's the honorary member of the Delta Sigma Theta sorority. And, of course, one of Oprah Winfrey's 25 living legends, 7 NAACP Image Awards, and currently University Distinguished Professor at Virginia Polytech Institute and State University. Please welcome Nikki Giovanni. Next to Nikki is Claudia B. Jones, Senior Vice President of Public Affairs and Communications at AT&T. She keeps us in touch. Claudia, prior to joining AT&T in 1996, was the Chief Spokesperson and Public Relations Manager for Ricoh Corporation's U.S. operations and an adjunct professor at Seton Hall University, where she taught graduate-level public relations writing and effective communication classes. Holds a master's degree in corporate and public communications from Seton Hall University and a bachelor's degree in political science from Rutgers University. Welcome, Claudia. To my far right is Tajni Ann Dubois, PhD, the 17th president of Shaw University and the newly appointed executive VP and COO of Howard University. Yes, indeed. Tajni is very proud of her new appointment at Howard University, and she is recruiting already. You should have heard her put the arm on Simone in the back to tell her, if you're about to be a Rhodes Scholar, come join our other Rhodes Scholars right there at Howard University. But she served as the 17th president of Shaw University, and she is credited with Shaw's first enrollment increase in 6 years and the closing of $4 million fundraising gap. Bravo. An entrepreneur, Dr. DuBois co-founded Tea and Honey Blends, a hair care company, and co-owned downtown Raleigh's Element Beauty Bar. She's a PhD in physical organic chemistry from NC State University and an MBA from Rutgers and a BS from Shaw University. Tajni, welcome. And to Tajni's left is Michelle E. Banks, president of Essence Communications. Okay, so Michelle, I'm going to confess something. When I was 8 years old, the only thing I wanted, 3 things in my whole life. I only wanted to be Diana Ross, so I could change my wigs, which you know I got to achieve. I wanted to be a lawyer, and I wanted to be on the cover of Essence magazine. And that is what little black girls wanted to do. So we are proud that you are president of Essence Communications. Since you took the helm, Essence has expanded its reach and evolved in its offerings through innovative brand extensions spanning digital, television, live event, and social media platforms. And prior to joining Essence, Michelle had a 15-year career at Time Inc. and has served as a corporate business manager for Condé Nast's 13 titles. Welcome, you keep us really at the forefront of all issues. And now I get to say hello to Linda Goler Blunt, okay? okay? She told me, no, it's Blount, okay? And then I said, well, I'm gonna call you Blount. What your mama say? No, it's. So Linda is president and CEO of the Black Women's Health Imperative. She makes Black women's health her front burner issue every single day. With more than 25 years of experience in the public, for-profit, and nonprofit sectors, Linda has a distinguished career that includes successful tenures at the Coca-Cola Company, leading strategic business initiatives, and the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. She is an expert scientist. Exactly. Let's welcome Linda and all of the panelists one more time, please. Ladies, let's jump right in. Michelle, I'm going to start with you. How do you think friendships and relationships differ as we're aged, since we all say we are living our best lives?
Thank you, Star. It's wonderful to be here. I believe that, our friendships and relationships, the longer we live, the more we know how important they are. We know that when we think back in our lives about what we've accomplished, I know for myself, if I think about my personal achievements, my failures, and then how I was able to overcome those failures, at each and every point along the way, I could point to a person, a friend, my mother, my father, an aunt who stood in the gap. And you realize over time that that's no accident, that that's God working through people. And you get wiser about that reality in your life, and you realize when those angels are standing right before you and how blessed you are and how that carries you through. So I believe over time you deepen that understanding and know that as you deal with where you are today, you actually look for those angels because they're right there.
Sounds like wisdom comes with a little bit of aging. And an appreciation for the wisdom of others outside of your own circle. Linda, I love seeing social media posts and videos about women in their 50s or even their 60s who are super healthy and super fit. There is nothing like watching a bodybuilder in her 60s and you just say to yourself, let me take my butt to the gym, okay? I used to weigh 300 pounds until I made health an imperative for me. I'm very proud that over the last 15 years, I've been able to keep off 150 pounds. So I'm very proud of that initiative. But what we all want to know, what is your best tip for health at any age?
Well, thank you, Star, and it's great to be here. We're oriented toward looking at diseases and preventing diseases. And I feel, and at the Black Women's Health Imperative, we feel Black women are more than diseases. That is not who we are. And I don't think we see each other that way. But I think what we've learned from the research and what we hear from Black women every day is stress. That is the driving force. So just by a show of hands, has anybody in this room ever been under stress? Oh, okay.
I'm under stress right now.
I just want to make sure I'm in the right room. But for Black women, for so many reasons, we have generational stress that goes back, frankly, 400 years. We've got the stress of what's happening today, seeing our children killed on video, on social media, seeing what's happening in our community. And so we know that stress leads to a whole host of other diseases and disease processes. The best thing we can do for ourselves is take care of ourselves. Mm-hmm. My organization started 35 years ago as a self-care movement, and today we still need to take care of ourselves. And Michelle, I like what you said about friends. You gotta have your friends, keep your friends close. They help calm you down. They will tell you the truth, and we need to hear the truth, but they will also encourage you. So the best thing we can do is breathe deeply, don't take things too seriously, and love the people around us, and let them love us.
What a wonderful piece of advice. I can tell you, no matter how bad it seems, the sun is still gonna come up tomorrow. Every day. It absolutely is going to come up tomorrow. Whether or not you want to wake up and see it, that's on you. Tajni, as a member of the 40 Over Club, are you here yet? Are you at the 40 plus?
I am not there yet, Star. I've got a few years to go.
Okay, stop bragging, okay? But as a member of the 40 plus club here, I look to women who are coming there and wonder if you've seen career changes, even in your 20s and your 30s, that you are looking forward to in your 40s and your 50s.
Thanks, Star. I've had a really accelerated career. I've been blessed to parlay across corporate and academia, and that foundation started with getting an education at an HBCU. And from there, I've gone to work at a chemical company called BASF and played several roles there, including procurement and also being a bench chemist. I moved on to entrepreneurship where I owned a hair care company, and then I wanted to give back to young people, and so I went to Shaw University to teach. So I was a chemistry professor, climbing a ladder from professor to president within 5 years.
Wow. Bravo.
I tell young people all the time, I say, what you have to do is be bold. And in particular, I enjoy empowering young women because very often I find that we lack the confidence that we need in order to promote, self-promote, and in order to move to the next level. So I always show up in the room with my authentic self, and I always ensure that I never let it be said that Tajni has ever put down another woman in the room. And so,
Please say that again. I want everybody to hear that. Tajni, say that again.
I want to ensure that it's never said that Tajni put down another woman in the room. And that was a lesson. I learned that very early in my career. I didn't want to be that person. And so I ensure that, as I look towards where I want to be in my career, I always find that it's in a setting where I'm empowering young people. Mm-hmm. And so now it is that I've taken that type of empowerment to Howard University. And I've been there for 11 days, so don't ask me what I'm going to do next. But certainly, I know that it will involve educating young people, and it will involve empowering young women.
Fantastic. I mean, there is no question that a rising tide lifts all boats. And so thank you so much for your leadership. And speaking of empowering young women, Simone, I come over to you. Being a woman in a male-dominated space is never easy. Do you think these challenges will get easier with time?
For me, personally, ma'am, absolutely not. As I graduate, I will be a commissioned second lieutenant in the Army, and I seek to pursue a military intelligence career, but I will first branch detail into the armor branch. And if any of you guys are familiar with the progression of the Army, infantry as well as armor is a branch that is recently open to females in general. I'm aware of one former graduate who is an African American female in this branch, so I will make two. So as you go along and you continue to put yourself in uncomfortable environments, it will never get easier being a black woman in these settings, but the important thing is to understand that is in these uncomfortable environments, not only that we grow as individuals, but that we teach others. Mm-hmm. So especially at West Point, there is a different narrative that I'm able to provide the majority of these men, a majority of these women, and even to black young women at West Point that they might not have heard ever before. And I think that's the significance of every single person in this room, is that we have the fellowship within this conference room, at this conference, but when this conference is done, we are leaving to go share these truths with other people who don't and are not fortunate enough to hear what we are saying as a collective.
Fantastic, absolutely. And Simone, I'm just as a small follow-up, you are entering into a portion of your career that is not just male-dominated. You will be the first again and again and again.
Potentially, yes, ma'am.
And by the way, she's saying ma'am out of respect, not out of age. So, Nikki, I'm going to come to you. What has changed or happened as you have matured that makes you think, oh my goodness, no one told me that was going to happen?
I just realized I'm probably the wrong person to be sitting here.
What are you talking about?
Well, I'm 74 years old, so we...
If there was ever an example of black don't crack, this would be it. Okay?
And I like that. I think 74 is a good idea. But I do recommend it.
The alternative is not good.
There's nothing wrong with the alternative, Star, because one of the things I've been dealing with lately, as I realize I'm not your winner here because I don't care what people think, and I know I should, but I really don't give a shit. I don't.
Bless your heart.
And what I've been interested in, if I could take up probably more time than you've allotted me, is that we know when we have a garden, we put fertilizer, and the fertilizer makes something grow. Well, it's the same thing with people, that the people who have come before us, not the people who ran, I'm not against the people who ran, I'm not against Frederick Douglass or any of those people, but the people who stayed fertilized our community. And we don't give enough credit to the people who stayed. And I'm all in favor. If I was a slave, I probably would, well, no, I doubt it, actually. If I was, I think I'd be, if I was a slave, I think I'd be trying to do what I think people did, is find out what it is that I can do that I can be proud of. Mm-hmm. We do not allow that man to come in from picking cotton and say to the woman he is married to and that he loves, babe, I picked six bags. We don't allow him his pride, and yet we know he had pride. And we don't allow her to say, honey, you should have seen that cake I made today. But you know that she was proud of the cake she made. Am I making sense here?
100%.
And I think it's so important that what I'm now calling the person who stayed. Because the people who stayed built the communities, built the churches, built the schools. These were great people. And we have not given them credit because what we know are the people who left. As I say, I'm not against the people who left. But the people who stayed are incredibly important. And I'm a big fan. We were just talking about, I'm a big fan of space. And I know for all of us who deal with children, with young people, I know that we have to find that thing between middle passage. Without middle passage, we would not have a space program. I used to say that a long time ago, and people weren't paying attention to me. But I was so happy with Hidden Figures, because we know that without black women, we wouldn't have had it.
Absolutely.
It's true. And we know that whatever brought us through middle passage, we know it was a song. We know it had to be a black woman. And whatever that strength was, whatever that curiosity was, whatever that love was, that's what it's going to take to space. So I was laughing with my class the other day because I was saying, and it's true, and I mean no disrespect, and I hope nobody misunderstands. But if I went to space, and it has to be a black woman, because black women are curious. And I know if I went into space, if I had been in Saturn, if I had been in that second ring, I know I would have screwed the life form that's there. I would have, because wow, how long, who gets a chance to screw a Saturn? Well, you have to.
That actually does answer my question. That answers my question. When you get to a certain age, why didn't anybody ever tell me that? I didn't know that was going to happen. I didn't know you were going to want to screw a Saturnian.
Well, we know we're going to screw Martians. I just think we have to keep reminding ourselves that there are things going on that only black women, in all fairness to everybody, that only we discover, because look at what we have discovered. And I will say, Star, the one thing I hate, and I think it's only fair to say it, I really hate Kentucky Fried Chicken, because we all know there's not a white man on God's earth that ever fried chicken. You know that. You know that.
So the question of, oh my goodness, no one told me this would happen, has to be, that I would be my authentic self when it comes to you and really not give a good flip if you can't handle authenticity. I think that's really where it is at this point.
I think that, that women, period, are important because I live in Appalachia. And we know, again, speaking of history, it won't affect you because you're doing international, but we know that as we look at the Appalachian Trail, we know, speaking of slaves that did escape, that they went up that trail, and we know that the quilts were hanging out and the lights were hanging out. So somebody had to hang them out. That had to be white women. We also know that those women who did that were hanged, were beaten. We know that. And white men are always saying, oh no, we love our women, but they just shot one in Charlottesville, didn't they? They knew that she was white when they didn't shoot her, they ran over her. They shot Louisa.
Right.
They've killed. When the white women don't do what they want done, they kill them. And I think that we need to talk about that also, that this is a part of the history that we need to remind ourselves. White women have been our friends. We've seen it now. And we also know that they get killed. When they don't do what white men want, they get killed. So there's a history going on. I probably have said this so badly. I have a book. Let me try this, and I must shut up. My new book is called A Good Cry. And so you were talking about stress. But see, I think, and this is what my doctor and I are arguing about, I don't think I have stress. He says I have stress. I think, Gregory, he's cute, so it's always fun to talk to Greg. But I don't think it's stress. I think I never learned to cry. And so on Saturday nights when my father would beat my mother, I never learned to cry. I held it in, and I held it in, and I held it in, and I ended up with a seizure. And I think that the reason I had seizures, but I never learned to cry. And so I'm betting, Greg, if I live long enough, that there's going to be a disease called the Nicky. I think that would be nice to have a disease named after you. Everybody wants something. I want a disease. And when you get the Nicky, it'll be because you haven't learned to cry. Because right now, if I sat here and cried, somebody would say, oh, baby, don't cry. But actually, what you should be saying is, hell, you should cry. Somebody should hold you. You should cry, because then you get it. Am I making sense? So my new book is called The Good Cry. And I'm just saying this. I don't think it's a great book or anything. I just like the idea that why don't we encourage each other to cry? Why don't our girlfriends say, no, it's all right, baby, cry? Because if we don't let it out, it's going to be in, and you're going to be 74 years old, and you're going to have a seizure. Now, I do like hospitals, in all fairness. Hospitals are like grandmothers to me. You know, they come in the morning, how's my baby today? You know, I love hospitals. But I do. But I also know, or I really feel, if I had learned to cry 30 years ago, I would not have had the problem. And so I'm not embarrassed by it or anything. I just think that, one, I really do, I'll say it again, I like being in my 70s. I hope I make it next year. Because, you know, you'd like to feel like 75 is really a cool age. And, you know, you feel like, okay, I can go, well, at 75, you can run up debt because you can't, because you're going to die anyway, so what the hell?
Well, okay, so Nikki, I can take it back at that point and say, don't count on it, because my grandmother turned 99 last week, and she had a reception for folk to come by to kiss her ring, so let me be very clear. And told us to start planning 100. So don't run up no debt right now, not right now. Claudia, I'm gonna go to you. What is the one stereotype about aging that drives you crazy?
I think if any of us have gone into a store and bought hand cream or anything, frankly, everything now says anti-aging. You can't avoid seeing that. You know, aging is inevitable. It's going to happen. And what bothers me is it now has this perception of being something that's bad, as opposed to something that's being what it is, which is a gift. I mean, any day that we have on this earth is a gift. And aging, to me, is, it's a journey. It's a journey through stages. It's a journey through years and time. And if we're fortunate in that journey, we can find our true self at some point. And so, you know, when someone says, oh, you're aging, or if you go in the store and you see something that says anti-aging, just don't believe it. You know, be proud of every year, be proud that you're aging. And that's the thing that bothers me the most. It has a real negative connotation now when it should really be a positive.
Absolutely. I honestly, listen, I had open heart surgery in 2010. The real kind where they take your heart out of your body for 22 minutes and then they had to put it back in. The alternative to anti-aging was not good for me. So I'm not a fan of anything anti-aging. What I am a fan of is just the beautiful women that African American women are. And I made a joke saying black don't crack, but black really don't crack. And I think, Michelle, you probably know this better than anyone, as you have led Essence and followed in the footsteps of some amazing women who have led Essence over the years. Is there something special about African American women that allows us to be beautiful in mind, body, and spirit for the longevity of our lives?
Star, absolutely. And I have had the privilege of, working with the one and only Susan L. Taylor and our current editor-in-chief, Vanessa DeLuca, because they understand that for black women, it's that internal journey. We transform ourselves internally, and then that joy and optimism and curiosity shows itself on the outside. Now, we do have melanin in our skin that protects us from the sun, but women and black women, we have learned, through the church and through working with each other, through our ancestors, to be joyful. And when you're joyful, that it comes through in your spirit, it comes through in what you look to achieve, and that's, growing, being here in this country, black women couldn't look at images in other magazines or on television that said we were beautiful. We couldn't look externally, so we had to look internally, and we had to tell each other. It's that poem, there are no mirrors in my Nana's house. My nose is not too flat, my skin is not too black. That's what we gave to each other. And that beauty, wanting to just let that beauty shine, not about aging, we don't want to deny ourselves that, because this journey has been hard fought, and that's what Essence has looked to portray after now 47 years, the diversity of our beauty, but that spirit, and that then shines on the outside.
Yeah, it seems as if you're saying that there is something inside of us that was put there.
Yeah.
And because it's just a part of our DNA, it expresses itself in the longevity of our own beauty.
We're internally motivated. I don't care what other people say, because we've had to make our own narratives, because the narratives that were around us didn't include us. It didn't include us being successful. So we had to go inside in that internal journey and believe, whether it was what our grandmothers or mothers told us or what we read in the scripture, we had to believe that and internalize it and then act on that in our lives.
Ladies, I'm just to piggyback on something that Nikki said and now Michelle is saying, do you think beauty ideals decrease as we age? Are they still there? And are we just too confident or too unbothered to let it bother us anymore? Playing off on what Nikki said, I just don't care. What Michelle said, it's something internal in our spirit and in our soul. With the beauty ideals changing constantly in our country and in our world, why have black women sort of rejected it until most recently? Now, all of a sudden, the things that enhanced us, that gave us pride, we've chosen to make adjustments, is the best way to put that. Beauty ideals have changed. Who wants to talk a little bit about that? Go ahead, Linda. You look like you can start to preach any minute now.
because it's a little disheartening in some sense. You know, we're bombarded, we black women are bombarded every day by all of this messaging and imagery, which in large part, outside of Essence magazine and some other publications, tells us that what we're not. You know, we're not thin, we're not whatever, we're not, you know, and it takes its toll on us. So while we say, you know, black don't crack on the outside, but it does take its toll on the inside. We've got great spiritual fortitude, but we see how it gets played out in our health. Mm-hmm. So a few years ago, we actually asked black women to define health. We just wanted to know, what do black women think about health? We just said, give us words and phrases that mean health to you. About 85% of the words and phrases black women used to define health were psychosocial. I'm calm, I'm at peace, I'm with God. About 10% of the words were financial. I can keep a roof over my head, take care of my children. Only about 5% of the words that black women used to define health had anything to do with disease state or being healthy or sick. We don't think of ourselves that way. We think of ourselves as spiritual, peaceful beings. But the messages we get outside say anything but. So what we've got to do is change that narrative.
Right, spiritual, peaceful being is a really good thing. But if you have diabetes, heart disease, and or cancer, all the spiritual peacefulness in the world not gonna keep you alive.
That's true, but part of the effect of stress is to raise our risk for those things.
Yes.
Just one thing I'll mention that people might find interesting and disturbing. There was a study done recently that looked at black women and how they work. Turns out black women work, on average, 20 to 30% more than their white counterparts. But there's no increase in productivity for the company, no decreased costs, no cost savings, nothing. But we do it because we think we have to. So imagine, all of you, if you could work 10, 20, 30% less, what your life would be like. We still have to take care of ourselves. We still have to take care of our diabetes and our heart disease. But that actually would lower our risk for those things as well. So think about that as you think about what you have to do, because we're putting stress on ourselves by worrying about what other people think about us and how much work we do.
Yes, absolutely.
The one thing I will say, though, is I am concerned about this upcoming generation and what they see beauty as. You know, they see images of you know, women in videos scantily dressed. It's all about sort of physical and not about spiritual. And, you know, I think we all owe, you know, this next generation of women our knowledge and our wisdom so that they can carry with them what, you know, these ladies here are saying. You know, it's not about your physical beauty, sure, you know, it's part of it, but right now I just think we've over-indexed to a point where it's all about looks and it's all about body image and it's not positive at all. And that a lot of women, you know, for them, the best thing they can do is not go to school and get good grades and, you know, get a great education and come out and be, you know, role models, but, you know, be on a music video or be, you know, twerking on a video. So, I mean, I think we really do need to be mentors to them and let them understand that there really is something far beyond what your body looks like, because as you age, that's going to change. And so you might as well have something ready that really you can depend on, and it's friends, it's spirit, it's your family. And I just think we've, you know, as a people, you know, we've gotten away from that a little bit, and I think we need to come back home, really.
So, Claudia, you don't think those booty enhancements are going to work in the years to come?
Those booty enhancements are going to be like at your knees, you know, it's like, no, it's not going to work. And that's not what we're all about. I mean, we're much deeper than that. And I just think that there's a level of just being very superficial that children need to get away from.
Simone, I know you wanted to jump in.
So I would say a great advantage that everyone has in this room is that to some capacity you are a mother, an aunt, a mentor, a community leader. And what is beautiful about that is that it remains constant. The things that we see in the media and in magazines are ever changing. One month it's cool to wear something that shows your cleavage, and the next turtlenecks are in. And it's physically impossible to keep up with those expectations, but I promise you that I remember the things that my mom focused on and what she told me more so than any magazine or commercial or video that I ever saw. So I would say you all do have an advantage against the media, but with that platform, with that advantage, are you utilizing it to the greatest degree is the question. And I'll tell you some of the things that really remained in my mind from my mother and the other women around me is primarily with makeup and what I wear, that at the end of the day, my value is going to be based on my relationship with God when I die, and also the people that I have around me and that team that I build within my family and my friends. So communicate that, because people are listening. They're listening to you more so than they're listening to the TV, and I promise that much.
That's actually good to know. Simone, I'm going to stick with you for just a second. I'm a big believer in women supporting other women. I run a networking organization that is now global, and to see other women just reaching out and helping other women grow their businesses, their careers, their lifestyles is my passion. What do you think that we in the 40-plus club can do to pave the way for younger, amazing women who may feel discouraged or stuck? I loved your advice for what our responsibility is in the whole beauty culture. So I'm wondering about a wider lens.
Yes, ma'am. So I'll share a small anecdote. It was the night that I found out that I had been selected for this position. And the next morning it would be publicized to not only the public, but also the old grads of the university who were accustomed to a different racial construct as well as gender construct of the academy. So they would have great things to say, and they would also have concerns of their own for whatever reason it may be. And the loudest narrative that surmounted everything that came up on the internet or through my phone or on social media were the words of encouragement and elimination of doubt that they shared with me. So what I would tell you all here, and it's such an honor to be able to speak to you guys because I'm just 20 years old, but if anything I can share, If anything, I can share the things that you all have provided me that have made me successful and how you should really emphasize on those specific things and is that positive narrative. Within life, there will be negative and positive times. But what we can do is if we focus on that positivity, it will drown out the sound of any negativity. And those naysayers that will eventually become the minority will be like, I want to be cool and be with the majority. Let me find a way to be positive. And trust me, like the phone call that you give to that young girl in college or in the 9th grade or even in 2nd grade struggling with something, you might think, oh, this is only 5 minutes and won't last. I promise you, it means something, because those are the moments that made me believe that I could achieve something like this. Because I really didn't, and I really didn't for a very long time, and it were those words, ma'am.
Simone, you make us so proud, I can't even tell you. Claudia, when you hear the word old, what do you think?
That's a great question.
And you all get ready, because I'm about to ask the same question.
Leave Nikki for last, because it's going to be hilarious. You know, I mean, I think it's a blessing. I do. I mean, it is, you know, I just found through the years, you just become so much happier. And, you know, I'll tell a story. It's probably been 20 years now. I was actually living in New Jersey and here in Washington, and an old woman from Harlem sat next to me, and she said to me, she held my hand and she said, baby, do you know the worst thing we do for our kids? And I said, well, at that time I said, yes, ma'am, I was younger. And, she says, we teach our children that life is easy, that they can get whatever they want. But life is really hard, and you have to work at it, and you have to work to be happy. And what I think is, as you get older, is you realize what that means, and you really do work. And Michelle, you talked about living joyously. You learn how to live joyously even through bad times and hard times. So, you know, at this point, I would say, you know what? I'm good. I don't want to be young. I'm fine with someone saying I'm old, because that means I'm seasoned and that I know, you know, what season I'm in, and it's a season that makes me happy. It's a season that makes me joyous. You know, it makes me fierce and fearless, and, you know, old is just great.
Not bad. Okay. Michelle?
I mean, it's such a great question, and it takes my husband to tell you how I am allergic to age. And someone saying, oh, you're 40, I'm 56. And when I have to write down my age on an application or something, I literally have to go back and calculate. Now, I was born in actually I'm 55. We're the same age.
Yes.
I have to go out and calculate it because I don't think about it. Because to what end? You know, there's a reason why it's the past, the present, and the future. That present is a gift. And if I'm busy thinking about, well, what does this mean? One, I'm too self-absorbed. You know, I just should be thinking about the moment. Am I getting the most out of it? And being grateful for the wisdom that I've gained. I now have a view of how life works. And I have evidence of that. You know, Albert Einstein said the first question that you really should ask yourself in any circumstance is the world a friendly place? Is it friendly? Is it neutral? Or is it unfriendly? Because that then defines the lane you travel down. Because if it's unfriendly, you're going to be on guard. Oh, they think I'm old. I'm not going to, you know, be able to do such and such. Or it's neutral, nothing that matters. No, the world is a friendly place. Because for me, God is love. So it's friendly. So it's friendly for me at this age. And I don't want a narrative that's out there with folks who have time to have a narrative dictate who they are or how they see the world. No, I have my own narrative that's been given to me and passed, you know, from my mother and grandmother, sitting at my grandmother's knee. You know, she told me how the world worked, and now I know it for myself.
You are the author of the only dictionary that defines you.
That is it. So someone could call me old or fat or short or dumb, whatever they wanted to call me. That's a distraction. I'm just me, the only one that exists in the world. And I want the best of this moment right now. And no one's gonna take my joy.
I got I'm good. I got I'm joyful. Linda, what you got?
Thank God. And I'm older than the two of you. Every day, grateful. And I feel like every day you wake up, that's all you got to do. Just get up in the morning. You know, we all try to do what we can do. We try to be our best selves. I try to eat healthy, don't do it all the time. Try to exercise, don't do it all the time. But the thing I can do all the time, all day long, is be grateful for, you know, the friends I have, the family I have, for my children, you know, the people around me who keep me going, you know, for the people I get to work with, who come in every day and are committed to trying to make sure that women everywhere can live their best selves. I mean, that is, at the end of the day, you know, we talk about this at the office all the time. On your dying bed, you'll never say, gee, I wish I spent more time in the office, ever. You know, I should have spent more time with my family and friends and people who love me. So that's what this is about, and to be grateful that you're here at this moment in time with the people that you have who can love you and whom you can love.
I love gratitude is being added to our list. I am going to go to the eldest member of our panel and the youngest member of our panel, but I probably should share mine. I learned adjustments, old things, just make adjustments. You know, like I now dress in layers. I was hot just a minute ago, I took that jacket off, okay? At any given moment, I might be cold. So you make adjustments, you know? I love stiletto heels, but towards the afternoon, after being in them all day, it might hurt. So I got the little flat teaks in the bag. I mean, right there. I mean, I just make adjustments. And they're happy adjustments because I'm nimble. That's my word. I'm nimble. I can adapt to whatever environment. I can turn into that chameleon and work it. Just give me an environment, throw me in it. You know, you throw me into a pack, I'll come back leading it. That's just who I am. I'm nimble. So that's mine. So, Simone, I'm gonna go to you. What do you think when you think old? Don't you say nothing wrong now.
Oh, goodness. I mean, I don't think it's a word I really think of a lot, just because I don't find myself asking people how old they are. It doesn't matter, to be quite frank, and that's synonymous with what everyone's saying, but what I've found the value in people that I have met who are older than me, objectively, is that, yeah, exactly, everyone's older than me, is as a younger person having that humility to be a vessel to all of those people around you, young and old. If I'm able to learn a nugget of wisdom from every single person in this room, then it takes your all's lessons learned, and then I become the lessons implemented. And throughout your life, the things, yeah, so the things that you guys have maybe made mistakes on, I don't have to make those same mistakes. And then I can share with others, and this is really the mission of the Corps of Cadets and me as the commander of them, is if these younger classes coming in can learn from my lessons, they will be propelled off of the challenges and maybe deficiencies that I have experienced and had to navigate. So when I would say old would be a great opportunity for me. If someone's old, please, let me learn from you something, and I will be better off for it, and you will be excited to see how someone else was able to overcome something you struggled with.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nikki, before we go out to the audience for their questions, what's old?
You know, everybody hates to ask me a question because half an hour later I answer. But my good friend, whom I love so much, Kwame Alexander, Kwame's mother died recently. And you can look at me and see that I've had some health issues. And I'm not really allowed right now to travel alone. So I'm very fortunate to have people to travel with me. But I wrote a poem for Kwame. It's not a great poem. I just wanted to share it with you all. And the one thing that I wanted to say was, and of course it's true, we hold them, speaking as a mother, we hold them when they're born, and they hold us when we die. And I wanted to say that, but for Kwame's mother, and I wanted to share that, I wish she could have heard it, she got to see her dream come true. She got to see her son become what he wanted to be. And so if there was a way to talk to her, I wish that I could. I don't know why I wanted to share that with you. But I dealt with the 8th grade recently. I'm a sucker for anything. If Jenny can take me, I go. And I was dealing with the 8th grade recently, and a kid asked me, what do you do about loneliness? And I said to her, because it's true, I like myself and I like my life and all of that, but you're going to be lonely. It goes with the territory. And honest to God, you know, it's not going to change because you can drink or because you can do drugs. It's just not going to change. But I also point out, of course, if you're knowing any kids, please tell them don't smoke, because if they smoke, they can't go into space. They can go into space, but they can't come back. And so they can't smoke. If you drink, you can go into space and come back. You see what I'm saying? But you know that. But if you smoke, I just thought I'd mention that because
I think you watched Hidden Figures several times, okay?
But I just think you're asking what my goal in life was to be sane. And the person that I most admire, in all fairness to everybody, is that woman on the 10th day for those of you who know anything about history, in Middle Passage, because it was the 10th day. I'm not going to do that because I'll be here all day. But that woman, and it had to be on that 10th day, that recognized wherever it was we were going to go there. We're not going to go back. Nothing's going to change. A lot of us know our African history, and they say, oh, you know, we're going to go back home. No, home is going to be where we're going. She knew that. And she hummed because there was no language. There's no language called African. And she hummed. And somebody picked up that hum. And when they got to what was going to become the United States of America, she had brought with her this song. And that's who I want to be. I want to be that song, so that whatever it is, we recognize this is it, and it goes forward. That's all I can do.
That's all. Go on. Ladies, I have the opportunity for the next 10 to 12 minutes to take some questions from the audience, and I know you'd like to be a part of this discussion. So keeping in mind the logistics information that was shared with you in the beginning, I'm going to ask you to please go to the microphones, and forgive me if I have to cut it off due to time. But let's start right here in the middle.
Hi, my name is Kenise Gray. I'm 23, Champion for Progress. I just want to say thank you so much for this. And I have business cards for all of you because I would love to stay in contact. My question is as follows. I'm the International Second Vice President for Alpha Kappa Alpha, and I have the honor. Hi. I have the honor of giving our undergraduates advice. So what advice or words of wisdom can you give me to share with them about things we can do now to ensure we have our best lives at 40 and beyond?
Anybody want to start?
I'll start. So I say there's three things, or I'll give you three things. I would say listen, and that's listen to your elders and the wisdom that they can impart to you. Learn from whatever your experiences are, whether they're good or bad. There's something that you can learn from them. And I would say, lastly, I would just say, live thankfully. Make sure that, every day before you go to bed, that you think of the things that you can be thankful of, because even in the darkest times, there's a nugget of something that you can be thankful for. And just remember that and live your life as fully as you can.
Sarah, I'm going to give you a little piece of advice because I actually had that role at American University as Second Supreme Antibacillus also. Be strategic. That's what I want you to do. Be long-range planning. Know that you can set short-term goals that will lead to long-term successes. And never, ever, ever think a setback is the end. Only God places periods. Everybody else puts commas, semicolons, and dashes. So long-term strategic planning will get you where you want to be. And it's okay to be nimble and switch it up if they start blocking your path in one direction. Good luck. Who's next? All the way on this side? Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is A. Rogine Bell Reed. Thank you all for participating. I wanted to ask, aside from meditation or prayer, what one thing does each of you do on a regular basis to ensure that your spiritual peace, and or to relieve stress? What one thing does each of you do?
Linda, why don't you start?
Okay, so I've been practicing yoga since I was 16 and started meditating at 16 also. I don't know why, but it just sort of happened, and so I just kept doing it. You all see that I've got this book here, and you've got cards on your chairs. This book is filled with those kinds of tips. What do healthy Black women do every day to stay healthy? And there's some really interesting tips in here, and it's all from a perspective of strength. And Star, if I could just take this moment to thank Michelle and Essence, because this is based on the Black Women's Health Study that's 23 years old now. And 25 years ago, Essence and the folks there had the vision and intestinal fortitude to participate. I don't know how many people are in this audience who are members of this study, but we asked them to go back and study healthy Black women, because I don't know if anybody in this room is tired of talking about what's wrong with us. I am. So this is all about healthy black women. So this is, you can learn what healthy black women do to stay healthy. And it's full of things that we can do right now. So I would like you all to just join me in thanking Essence for doing this for us. Because this is where we begin. We don't start with what's wrong with us. We start with what's right with us.
Michelle, you go right ahead.
You know, I would say one step that I've taken that's helped me tremendously is, you know, finding some solitude. You know, when you're working, I work a lot, I travel probably 150,000 miles a year. I have 2 sons, they're now 14 and 15. There are times, it's hard to find a time where it's just me. I could be on the flight, and when someone's talking to me, I just want to say, just give me peace. But that solitude, it gives me a moment to pull back, because you get caught up in sometimes around toxic people or toxic behaviors. But if you can pull back and just be with your thoughts and find, you know, let your mind wander what's worrying you, and not be judgmental. Not be judgmental to yourself, be compassionate. I try in my solitude to be compassionate to myself. Oh, that happened. Well, Michelle, yes, you could do something differently, but you did the best you could. Or if someone, you know, I felt, you know, didn't tell the truth about me, and I had anger, and what am I going to do in my solitude? I could say, well, maybe there was something that they didn't understand. And I can let go of negativity. And I could find that compassion for myself, and then understand how I can think clearly and get to my true purpose. So whether I go on long walks or just go sit in the garden, that solitude has become very necessary in my life, so that I don't let what's on the outside determine what's on the inside.
Fantastic. Claudia?
I wake up at 4:30 every morning to exercise. And I do that because, well, after work, I realized I wasn't really doing it, so I had a glass of wine instead. But I wake up and I do that because it's a quiet time. Everything's quiet at that period of time. And what you were saying, it allows you just to de-stress, begin your day in sort of centered. And so that's what I do. I mean, I get up, I work out, and I used to be a runner, but I don't do that as much anymore. But I just find that it helps me cope. My mom passed away in January of this year, and I realized that working out and exercising just helped me get through it. It put me in a space and place that allowed me to deal with that. And so I work out.
Nikki, what do you do?
I don't know. My aunt we were talking about death, but my aunt just died. And when Agnes died, and some of you know my Aunt Agnes, I became the oldest person in my family. And I'm still trying to, you know, figure out what that means and my responsibilities, and so I'm probably not good. I only get because of my health problem, I only get 1 glass of champagne a day. So
Sympathies.
that's all they allow me. So I'm trying to get well so that I can go back to like my 2 and 3.
Champagne. Simone, what do you do?
So I do a multitude of things, but also it's not consistent every day. There'll be days I get up at 5:20 and I'm not back in my room until 10 o'clock. And constantly, especially in this role, it's serving the varying demands on your time, and that's what it is. Doing my job is giving my time to others. So fundamental to all of these activities that we do and partake in is allowing yourself permission to do them. And for every individual, it'll be something different, but what we all struggle with, because we're all busy, is saying, you know what, it is fundamental to my survival and my productivity to allow myself to do yoga, to allow myself to meditate, to allow myself to reflect. And I don't care who's asking for my time, I will do this, and that's not changing.
Good stuff. Mine is very superficial. I get a body scrub once a month, no matter what. No matter where, I will get a full-on body scrub where all I do is lay on a table and get washed from head to toe by a big Russian lady, and a Vichy shower comes down, and every piece of stress goes away. And then I go home and have a glass of champagne. That works for me. Let me go all the way to the left, and then we'll do one more round. There's someone at the microphone there.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Shamika Brathwaite, and as a follow-up question, I would like to ask the panelists, with all the different activities, organizations, work, family, and life responsibilities, what advice do you have for us to fully be present at every stage in our life to enjoy the moments?
Simone, let's start with you.
So one thing that we practice in the military, ma'am, is there is an intent and purpose in every single thing we do. Something as small as doing a run or doing a ruck march or ambushing enemy unit.
I love it.
If that makes sense, I'm sorry. But there is...
Simone, you just said war games is what you
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's important not only in years, not only in months, weeks, days, and even hours, that you identify the intent and purpose behind it. And it doesn't have to be objective. It doesn't need to be, I run 5 miles. It needs to be, hey, I feel as though I pushed myself. And I think that allows you to be present because every single second you're striving towards that mission and vision that you have for the activity. And that is something that applies on the small scale, but also through life. So then when you're on your deathbed, you can say to yourself, hey, did I achieve this intent and purpose of my life? If I did, awesome, check the box, great job. So hopefully that answers your question with not too much military jargon in there, but.
Does anybody else want to go ahead and contribute to this? This is where I would get into some additional questions. Anybody, I think?
I'll just say one thing, and I hope no one's recording this since I work for AT&T. I find that our devices actually distract us from being in the moment. And, I find that it's really hard to put down, but in order to really be in the moment, you can't do that in text, and you can't do that and look at email, and you can't do that and have your phone distract you. So sometimes you just have to separate yourself from your devices. I can't believe I'm saying this. And, and just really be in the moment with who you're talking to or who you need to address or what you need to do. It's really hard to do it with a device in your hand.
Can I add one
Yes.
thing? Since you are the first person to do what you are doing, I wish that you would just take 10 minutes before you go to bed or before you actually wake up and write what you're thinking. Just because at some point, 50 years from now, we are going to want to know what you were thinking. Yeah.
Good. Wonderful, wonderful. Let's see if we can take a question here.
I'm sorry I can't stand because I just had foot surgery, but my name is Carol Wilkerson, and I was in the Army Medical Corps, and I attained the rank of a lieutenant colonel. This question is for Cadet Simone. Nikki says that we should cry, and you know that is not good for you. You know, the media, they just waited for Hillary to start crying so Trump could jump all on that during the campaign. So tell me about crying when you have the job that you have in the military.
Good question.
So I'll say I cry a lot, actually. Don't tell anyone that. And if it's not in front of my mom, then it's in front of my boyfriend. And I don't mean to be cliche in any way, but at the end of the day, sometimes I'll just sit down and talk to him. So I encourage crying. For me, it's being very strategic with that crying, because although I have the perception that crying shows emotional strength, that's not what everyone accepts. And in the military, if especially as a female, if you're seen crying, it's seen as emotional instability, quite frankly, ma'am. So just knowing when the right place and the right time is, but be purposeful in finding that place so that you can do it very frequently. Hopefully that provides some clarity in when I choose to cry. But yes, I do it a lot. I get stressed sometimes, so.
Everybody does. And the fact that Hillary didn't punch somebody in the face is a wonder in and of itself. What the hell, crying? Go ahead, sweetheart. On this side.
Good morning. My name is Betty Ensminger, and I am a returning student to the University of the District of Columbia. I am 59.
Bravo.
And so what I want to know is, as an entertainer, model, actor, singer, sorry we're in the same business, how do I inspire my fellow students? And I'm maintaining a 3.5. How do I inspire my fellow students without whooping their behind? Because some of them, I try to motivate, and it's like pushing me. It's like I'm not a mother. I want to be a student. So how do you turn that off to stay in the student mode without allowing the mother? Because I have 2 of my own daughters. So how do I do that? That's for any of you guys. Thank you.
Nikki, I'm going to ask you to take that. Because you've been working with students for so many years.
My answer won't be any good, because why the hell should you? What your responsibility is only to yourself. I mean, what makes you think, oh, damn, I need to tell them what to do? Who are you?
I'm going to get there. My goal is to get to where she is. That is my goal. Let me be very clear on that. Let me go to the far left. I can take one more.
Hello, my name is Emmanuel Hay. I'm a sophomore at Howard University currently. So as you mentioned, you know, Black women are very spiritual, and it's an important part of our lives and very important to our culture. But do you think we use God as a crutch or a defense mechanism to avoid or sort of deflect underlying issues, which then creates just problems, because then we deteriorate as we tell ourselves that we're okay and that we're mentally sound, but overall we're not really taking care of ourselves?
Linda, I am going to start with you.
That's a really good question. And you hear that, you see that in print, you hear that in the media all the time. And you know, maybe for some people that's the case, but I think in general, no, that's not the case. If you have a relationship with God, then you have a relationship with God. And you're not, I don't think one can use God. I'm not a theologian, but I don't think God allows God to be used. So, you know, in terms of that peacefulness that Black women, how they, you know, talk about health and how they view themselves, that's their relationship with God. And the beautiful thing is they can talk, they can have a conversation. You can get mad at God. This is great. You can be angry all day long. God can take it. But at the end of the day, it's not a crutch. It becomes a source of strength if you're looking at it as a part of your purposeful life. Yeah.
I want to share with you just a very personal perspective. When they told me I had to have open heart surgery, it was actually elective. I hadn't had a heart attack. It was preventive. It's one of the reasons why I'm a big fan of the Affordable Care Act, because preventive medicine saved my life. There is no question. But I had time to plan it. I got to pick my anesthesiologist, the person who would put me to sleep. I got to pick the actual surgeon that would make the cut. I got to pick the person who would take the heart out and be protective of the heart and put me on the heart-lung machine. And that person, I mean, that's the hand of God, right? That's gonna stick his hand in your chest. I want you to know, I swear no to you, the day of the surgery, he said to me, "What do you need right now?" And I said, "I honestly just need to pray." He said, "So do I." And the man who would take my heart out stood in the operating theater and prayed with me. So I figure if at that time he's praying, there's no shame in me praying anytime, any place, anywhere. And that's a very true story. So it wasn't a crutch. It was, for him, he wanted some additional hands in the operating theater. So using God as your additional strength, I think gives us as black women strength. That's my take on that. I'm going to ask my panel, because they have just been so brilliant, one last final question. And this is funny because we have Simone at the end. But this is the question that I want to know. If you could look back and tell yourself something 20 years ago, so that would make you... Right. How old are you now, Simone? 20. You're 20. Good. I thought so. You're going to tell us what you want to know. But everybody else, I'd like you to give an experience. And I'll give an example so you know what we're looking for. There is no question I'd tell myself to be healthy. There's no question that I'd say being sedentary, eating double Whoppers with cheese, no pickles, heavy ketchup, heavy mayonnaise. See how that still rolls right off the tongue? That's not going to keep you alive. I would tell myself, get your behind to the gym and make your health your priority, because that's the only thing that you're going to have at the end of the day. I would tell myself that. And I think changes would have occurred in my life. What would you tell yourself? And Simone, we'll let you end it as you think what you want to know. Michelle, what about you?
Oh, I believe I would tell myself that, you know, you are enough. I spent so many times when I was younger thinking, well, why aren't am I as smart as this person, or as pretty as this person, or have as much as this person has? And I found that I would just look out and wonder, you know, am I enough? And I would tell myself the answer is yes. Just be you. Go on this journey and know that you are enough.
Fantastic. Linda?
Well, in addition to that, to say believe in yourself, I would have gone back to my younger self and said, really appreciate what is happening around you. I was so goal-oriented as a kid. Again, go to school, do engineering, do epidemiology, do this, do this, do this. And I didn't really fully appreciate my life as it was happening. So I would absolutely go back and fully take it all in and savor it and love every bit of what I was experiencing, the good and the bad, so that I could really appreciate it at this point.
So beautiful. Claudia?
I probably would tell myself, well, there's a lot of things, but that it's okay. I'm going to sound like you almost, Nikki. It's okay to be a bitch. That, you know, that sometimes, you know, you just have to go there, and that, you know, there's a lot of times for women, you know, that we feel, and certainly 20 years ago, I felt that, you know, as a woman, that you really couldn't be aggressive and you really couldn't tell people what you think. But you can and you should, because we have a voice, and don't let anyone take your voice away from you. It's there to be used. And sometimes, you know, I often say, you know, Michelle Obama says, you know, when they go low, we go high. Sometimes when they go low, you need to go lower. And so that they can understand that, so that they can understand that you mean business. And particularly in a workplace, you know, I mean, often I'm sure a lot of us have been in situations where you're the only African-American woman there. And I'll give you one story just quickly. I was in a room with a bunch of white men, and the visiting guy, as he was talking, looked at me and said, "Are you taking notes?" And I looked at him like, you gotta be kidding me. And I said, no, I don't take notes. At that time I was a vice president, and I said, I happen to be a vice president of AT&T. And I actually left because I was the one that was deciding whether he got a contract or not. And needless to say, he did not get a contract, but I felt empowered enough to walk out of the room like, let me tell you who I am, and then I'm gonna leave, and then you get to sit here and wonder whether or not you get a contract. So what I will say to you is use your voice. If you gotta be tough, be tough. You know, I'm I'm little, so I mean, I need to be tough sometimes. But 20 years ago, I would have never been able to do that. But have confidence in yourself enough to make your point and make your voice heard.
I love it, Claudia. You know you should have told that boy you should be taking notes, baby. Because you're about to get checked.
You're about to get checked.
Whoa, Nikki. 10 years, 20 years, I'm sorry.
No, well, 20 years ago, I was just in my 50s. I would just hope that the people I thought I was loving that I did, and that didn't hurt anybody. I'm an artist, and so artists sometimes do. And I've been incredibly lucky for the people I have loved, because if you read my poems, 90% of my poems are love poems, because I enjoy. But I would hope I haven't hurt anybody, and that's the truth. I didn't think of myself as being bitchy, but you do get sick of shit sometimes. And so, you let that be known. But I think my best life, well, you do. But I really think, if I may, to this audience at this time, for whatever it means, I think that my best life was 30 years ago. I think that whatever it was, not the 2020 is not enough, but the 30 years ago, I think I found what I needed to continue into a good life. I don't know. That's what makes me happy.
That's really beautiful. Simone, what would you want to know as you come into this world? Because that's 20 years ago.
So a lot of times I've been asked, ma'am, how does it feel to have this position or to be the first in this position? And I do really think this is the first time in my life that I felt as though I was truly being heard. But then when I sat and thought about what is my greatest success in my life, I realized that it was not this position alone, but an accumulation of successes and experiences that I've had up until this point that made me capable and really made the people around me capable of pouring into me. So what I would say, if you guys could provide me with advice, or if I could provide myself with advice at 0 years old, is that you are being heard and you are being watched no matter where you are. You can be the vice president, you can be the CEO, you can be the first captain, or you can be in a middle school classroom or just talking to a girl in the grocery store. You're being heard. And it might not be on national television, but your words will make an impact for the better or for the worse. So the question is, and the question I have for everyone in this room is, what will you say?
I have enjoyed my time with these ladies so tremendously. 20 years from now, Simone, you're going to be 40 and eligible to run for the presidency of the United States. Just saying. And your Auntie Star is a prolific fundraiser, okay? Just so you know. Ladies, it's an honor to sit here and just be enveloped by your knowledge, your wisdom, and your ability to live your best life at any age. Thank you all, everyone. I hope you had a good day. Please continue with the rest of Black Women's Agenda, and we'll see you the next time. Thank you again, everyone.